Welcome back to the CKM Red Rugby League channel. I'm Matty, and this is Luke. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be going over the Bulldogs Roosters game from last night. Of course, we couldn't pick it up in our round review last time, so we're picking it up today. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, the Roosters just just kind of put the Bulldogs to the sword there. It got ugly. It got really ugly really quickly. James Tedesco has been Tedesco. That's all we can really say about that. Kyle Flanagan looked really good. Angus Crichton looked really good. The Roosters as a whole looked really good. It sets up a really juicy clash on Saturday night against Parramatta. Canterbury, I mean, I called it in the preview last week. They're going to attack that right side where they have Averillo, who's not a known centre. Now, granted, Averillo himself didn't play completely awfully, but still, 9 out of the 35 tackles were on that right side. Nick Meaney just got peppered out there by Brett Morris. It was not pretty. It was not pretty viewing if you're a Bulldogs fan. And yeah, I mean, now that Merrick McGregor's found himself a win, you'd have to imagine that the next coach on the hot seat is going to be Dean Pay.
Yeah, like they just didn't defend well. Like Lachlan Lewis had a nightmare out on that left edge defensively. For that first try, he shoots the line, he makes the tackle, but then loses the contact. But Roosters get up quick and score. Tedesco's second, the one where Tedesco offloaded one-handed. Lewis shoots the line again, doesn't make his man, leaves a huge gap, and Crichton just goes straight through. So, like you said, 9 out of the 35 missed tackles on that left edge between Meaney, Averillo, and Lachlan Lewis. You've got to think that defensive edge needs some sort of sorting out. And you touched on Averillo as well. Him having not an awful game. He did make a decent line break, but then bombed a try with catching himself in two minds coming up against Tedesco, showed him on the outside, then dummied and then decided to give it, and Tedesco managed to get a hand to it. So I think Averillo maybe needs to be looked at. It's a little early, but
the thing is for the Bulldogs is they had an out-and-out centre in Karen Holland for the first couple of rounds, but he's hurt. Morgan Harper is a winger who can dabble as a centre, but is not. I wouldn't put him there. I wouldn't put him on the Bulldogs' right edge. So that leaves Averillo, who's fine, but is more of a ball-running half. And with how Lachlan Lewis has been playing, it wouldn't be a bad case to say that maybe the Dogs drop Lewis, put Averillo in at the halves. But again, who do you play at centre with no Holland at the moment?
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare spot for them at the minute. As you touched on there, Lachlan Lewis. At the minute, the Dogs are using him as their favoured ball player. So looking at the stats, he received the ball 49 times in comparison to Kieran Foran, who only got it 36 times. Foran taking more runs, though. Foran got a try and came really close, I think in the first half, just when the game had started to plateau a little bit, where, the Roosters had, stormed out to that 18-point lead. And then the Bulldogs actually managed to find some defensive rhythm again and managed to offset that. But, Foran looked good when he had the ball in hand, and he needs to be more involved in order to make that attack click.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to work that one out, but Kieran Foran needs to be the dominant half in that Bulldogs side. There's no doubts about it for me. Lachlan Lewis has his sparks of brilliance, but too many times those sparks of brilliance are surrounded by just some numbskull moments on the field. And credit where credit's due. I think Blocker Roach said it last night. There are a couple of defensive plays where he rushed up and made the tackle and stopped the overlap. But for the 2 or 3 times where he rushed up and stopped the overlap, there were 2 or 3 times where, as you mentioned, he rushed up, didn't make the right call, and the Roosters stroll in untouched. So it's a tough one for Dean Pay because he doesn't have, I think, a roster that's conducive to finals footy and won't for a year or 2 now. Will Hopewadi's been fantastic for the Bulldogs, but you can only play as well as your next teammate, and if Will Hopewadi's the best player on this Bulldogs side, and you have 16 other guys who are lagging behind, then you're struggling up Crap Creek without a paddle.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It became a little bit of a tough watch when they got out 18 points up within like 15 minutes, and it's got to be said the Roosters didn't play well for the full 80 either. It was only when we were going over the stats earlier we found that the Dogs actually completed more sets than the Roosters, 31 over 42, and Bulldogs 31 over 42, Roosters only 30 out of 42. Well, it's only 1 set difference. That's factored in by the penalty count as well, because you got to think with them kicking off a lot, it's from the try scoring, how they get the ball back so much. Roosters high penalty count, 8-4 in the Bulldogs' favour. So the Roosters, when they were in, the Dogs had the same as much possession as the Roosters did. It was just that the Roosters were able to turn it into points, and that's what they can do.
Yeah, and I think realistically, the Roosters played 40 minutes of good football. They opened up amazingly. I think it was 24 points in the first 20 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And the back end, the last 20 minutes of that game, they played, just flawless Roosters football. But that middle 40, one could have thought that the Dogs were on level pegging. But that's the scary part. That it was 42-6, and the Roosters, I think, played 40 minutes of good football. Like I said earlier, it makes for a really interesting clash on Saturday night against Parramatta. You have to think that the Roosters are the favourites there, but we'll talk about it more tomorrow when we record the round preview. But game of the round Saturday night, Roosters Parramatta, get around. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, it's hard for the Bulldogs because they lost Jaden Ockenbaugh at the beginning of the season, who could have very easily have just slotted into that centre role, or even putting Crichton into centre and putting Ockenbaugh outside him. That's where their roster's at right now. Nothing much that can be done without bringing somebody in. They brought in Morgan Harper, but again, it's more of a flank player that they brought in there, so they need to firm up their edges.
Yeah, but it's hard to do so if you don't have the players, mate.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, as we touched on, there's not many teams that can run up 42 points on a bad performance. But the Roosters, on their day, they are really special. They've run up now 100 points in 160 minutes of footy.
101-6 their last 2 games.
That's frightening, is that? And they've not done it against awful teams as well. The Dogs are far from their best, but they're not a terrible team. And they picked Brisbane apart, and Brisbane was showed glimpses of brilliance last week. So if the Roosters carry on like this, they touched on it on the Fox Sports broadcast last night, that they're well on course for that 3-peat.
Oh, please no. Oh, please no. I think as a Parramatta fan, I'd almost take the Storm over the Roosters. That's saying something.
Right. Well, that's going to do it here for us. If you've enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. Any feedback, greatly appreciated. Yeah, we will see you tomorrow for the NRL Round 6 preview, the Beanies for Brain Cancer round. And yeah, we will see you then.